We're good? Cool. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get started here. So thank you so much for everyone coming out tonight. My name is Logan Kaler with the Boone News-Republican, and of course, I'm sure many of you guys know Jim Turbis from KWBG. So tonight is the open forum, giving each of our candidates a chance and opportunity kind of like tell everyone else about who they are, a little bit about their history, and then we're gonna get into some hard-hitting questions. Kind of the questions that you should be able to answer if you were an elected official. Okay, so to start off, I'm gonna have the candidates starting from left, going to right, and each of them will come up, introduce themselves, and talk a little bit about themselves. Okay, Terry?
My name's Terry Moorman. My wife, Marcia, and I moved here 33 years ago. We've been married for 44 years. We have 4 sons, Corey, Travis, Ryan, and Andrew. 2 of them still live here in Boone. The other 2 live in Colorado with their wives, and 4 of our grandchildren. We have 4 grandchildren here, so a total of 8. I worked for ACI Mechanical in Ames for 32 years as a mechanical estimator and a field superintendent. So my background is in construction and management. I coached Boone Little League here for 14 years. I also was president of the Boone Little League for 4 years and served on the board for 10, as well as the Babe Ruth board. Coached flag football, coached basketball all those years. Pretty proud of that. I was also the safety director at ACI Mechanical for 25 years until I retired 3 years ago. And I also head up their, I'm the tournament director for their annual ACI Mechanical Charity Golf Classic. And in 10 years, we've raised a little over $100,000 for child-based charities here in the state of Iowa. So I'm pretty proud of that too. I am looking forward to serving on the city council. I think I bring some critical skills with my construction and management background to the council. And I appreciate KWBG and Boone News-Republican for putting this on and giving us the opportunity.
You might not be able to see me over this. Can you see me? Hi, I'm Pam McClain, and I have lived in Boone since 1969. Married my husband in 69 and moved over here. He's a lifetime Boone resident. So I've been here, it'll be 50 years come July. We raised 2 children here. I have a daughter who lives in Des Moines and a son who lives in Alleman. I have 6 grandchildren, Madeline and Joseph Slight, Emma Shanahan, Allie and Jack McClain. And I have 3 great-grandsons, Ryder, Kane, and Camden. And Maddie's gonna have a little girl come September, so we're very excited about that. So that'll be 4 great-grandchildren. I've held a lot of different jobs in Boone over the years. I worked at TikTok and Walt's card store downtown, Northside Casey's. I was a noon supervisor at Franklin School. And then in 2010, I started working at the Boone Police. I was a dispatcher first from 85 to 93 for Boone Police Department. Which was right here in this building. And then in 2010, I came back and started working for Bill Scare as a part-time parking clerk at the Boone Police Department there on Story Street. I semi-retired in 2014, but I still fill in a lot. I'm really excited to be running. I hope that people will, give me a chance. I'm not real experienced with this, but I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to do research, and I just would appreciate your votes on May 7th. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brett Hudson. I am from Boone. I've lived in Boone since about 1987. I was born in Boone, and I have lived in Madrid for a little while for work, but I came back about 6 years ago. I work over in Ames at a wholesaler called Dennis Supply. I'm a salesman. We sell HVAC equipment, so furnaces, things like that. And then part-time, I work up at Boone Valley Brewing here in town. That's almost more of a hobby, I guess you could say. I enjoy doing that. See a lot of faces up there, get to talk to a lot of people. So that's really nice and kind of a reason that factored into wanting to do this, I would say. I found out a little over a month ago that the spot was open and that there would be a chance for a special election. So I actually went and gathered the signatures so we would have this opportunity, because I do truly believe that democracy is important at every level. So I'm very glad that we are having this. It's a great opportunity. No children, no grandkids. I do live with my girlfriend, Erin. We bought a house in the 4th Ward over on Green Street about a year ago exactly. So it's been a pretty fast year lately, and lots of things going on. I think I would be a good person for the council to bring some new, fresh ideas, get some things that have been discussed, but unfortunately haven't really taken off or been put into action. So I think I would be a little more on the lines of, let's say, putting our money where our mouth is. There's a lot of talk about doing things, but it'd be nice to see them actually getting done. And I feel that I would be a pretty good person for that. Look forward to Tuesday, and it's been fun getting to talk to people, hear issues, lots of things I never would have thought of. Some things I think we all hear a lot about are pretty common. So it's been a good experience, and I've enjoyed it and look forward to the rest of the evening. So thanks.
Okay, so at this point, we are going to move on to the questions. Both Jim and I are going to take turns asking the candidates a question, and each of them will give their response. And then after that, we're going to do a Q&A. So then anybody from the public who's come in can go up to one of these microphones, and then they can ask questions as well. So first, we're going to have Jim and I are going to ask some questions. One question, all three will answer. Cool. So my first question, guys, this podium has become a problem. My first question is, do you guys think our Main Street downtown is healthy? If not, what would you do to change that? And I think it would be best if we just started from left and go to right as well. Go ahead.
Is downtown Main Street healthy? No, it's not. There's a lot of vacant buildings down there. Economic development is a high priority. I know for the council, it is for me. I want to see Boone thrive. There are a lot of hard decisions to make. What I would do is pursue more grant money. I know the council does a great job. This year alone, they've acquired $1.2 million in grant money, approximately. Next year, it's a little over $2 million. But is that enough? Probably not. There are plenty of avenues to pursue. EPA loans, DOT loans, SBA loans. At the state level, there's Iowa enhancement loans. There's all kinds of grants and money out there. The problem with that is that there is a lot of fierce competition for that money. And we need to pursue it. I know the council is doing a pretty good job doing that. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. We only have 3 full-time staff. That would fall on them, and their time is limited to do that. But they do a good job with the rest of it. But no, it's not healthy, and we all know that. We all would like to see it bounce back. but there are a lot of obstacles in the way, not that we can't overcome them, but it will take a lot of hard work and perseverance.
Our downtown is not healthy. We have a lot of empty storefronts that need to be filled. I don't know, I mean, sounds like Terry covered a lot of it about the grants and stuff. But yeah, we need to figure out a way to get our storefronts filled and bring new businesses downtown. Truthfully, I don't know how we're going to do that.
Well, to answer your question directly, I'd say no, it is not healthy. There's a lot of empty storefronts, empty buildings. The old Fairway, I think, would probably be the most prominent kind of waste of space, you could say. There's been some good ideas and things actually accomplished within the council. I think it's the Chamber Retail Task Force is something that they've set up and have gone through to get feedback from other communities. And I know they partnered with, I believe it was the Iowa State Extension Office. That's great. That's a good start. I think the important part is, I know they're waiting back on the data and the results, is once we get that, use it. You know, don't take 9 steps and then stop on the 10th and not finish what you're doing. To follow through with that. And then 2 kind of simple ideas. I know one that has been brought up before in the city council would be to provide free Wi-Fi for downtown. It's a small, I think, thing, but significant. And let's be realistic, it's 2019. Free Wi-Fi in public spaces is not a luxury. That's something I think we should absolutely have. It could be a game changer. Maybe that's not, completely understood, but that's a very, very good starting point. And then again, back to the Fairway building. It's just a waste of space right now. Do something with it, get rid of it. It could be, I know a lot of complaints about downtown is parking lacks, it's bad. That would be a good spot for parking. It could serve as a permanent home for the farmer's market. The current spot where that farmer's market is definitely not doing it any favors. Having a space like that for it to be permanent. I'm sure we can think of a lot of other things to use that, considering the location. That would be really good. And it's absolutely possible for the downtown to become revitalized. If you look at other communities where town squares, Jefferson, they have a great town square. I mean, they got the bell tower and everything, but it's a good comparison is what I would say. And actually, again, kind of putting our money where our mouth is, following through. It's good to talk, but then when I was back to the Wi-Fi point, that's been brought up before, and it was voted to not even be considered. Translation to me is, we say we want to revitalize, take care of downtown Boone, but we're not even really willing to look at something like that. You're not willing to, you don't want to revitalize downtown, in my opinion. You're not really willing to take steps and actions on it. And I think that's something I would be suited for, would be maybe looking at downtown and the realities of what we can support and how we could do it and moving forward with it, to answer the question.
Okay, Pam, we'll start with you. My question, the city has put a lot of money into preserving, restoration of buildings, storefronts. Is this something that you're interested in continuing to pursue? If we have a downtown that's in need, then we got to have our buildings preserved to stay there. And is this something you'd be interested in continuing? And if somebody does come in with a possible proposal, how far do you go? Do you just do facade? Do you do even more? Do you do interior? How far would you go?
The outside, the front, storefront, absolutely. I think that we should do that. As far as the inside, I would think that would be up to the business people. I mean, if they're going to pay the rent, maybe we could, a grant or something, but we definitely need to do something with the storefronts. I would support that, yes.
The storefronts, I think, would be the first thing. Eye appeal is huge. If you see something that doesn't look attractive and you don't want to go into it for whatever reason, you've already lost the battle before it even started. So definitely the first step in that sense would be preserving and restoring and kind of sprucing up the outside. I think the next step, when you go beyond that, would be to each their own on the inside. They can do, that's their space, however they feel will be best for them, but definitely be something to take as an issue and put aside for funding and things like preserving and giving some TLC to the storefronts. I think just getting people in the door is, the hardest thing for something like that.
There is about $50,000 left in the BDIF fund, with another $25,000 slated to go in there this year. That money will, and there's a couple applications now for some funding to redo some buildings down there, which is a great idea. The problem with the interior of some of these buildings is they're 120 years old. So there are structural issues to be considered, asbestos, there is lead, paint. There are all kinds of things to be considered. Having a construction background, I know these things. The new building codes require fire protection. The new building codes require handicap accessibility. A lot of money. I agree with Pam when it comes to the interiors of these buildings. The owners, we can grant BDIF money or even TIF money down there if we want to, but the owners of those businesses have to have skin in the game. They have to. We can't go in and renovate all these buildings at a huge cost and not have the owner or the occupant or the store owner have some skin in it, if you know what I mean. As far as the ramp goes, that's in process right now. That's a private owner that owns that ramp and that building. They're in the process right now of looking at this to see if the ramp is structurally unsafe. If it's structurally unsafe, they'll condemn it. Once they condemn it, it's the owner's responsibility to either fix it or say, here, we're going to walk away. But that process alone will probably take 12 to 18 months. It doesn't just happen overnight. We can't go in and condemn it and say it's ours and tear it down. There are plans in the works for that, and there are plans for that space. But it all takes time, and there's a process. We all want to see that ramp go away. It is a waste of space. Absolutely is. But there's a process that we have to follow. There are legal ramifications. There are all kinds of things that we have to do before that can happen.
Okay, so my next question is, so if someone came to you with a proposal to build some new piece of infrastructure, like a road or a bridge, how would you evaluate whether the project is worth it?
Get as much, find out exactly what they're proposing, why they're proposing it, what's the purpose, what's it going to serve, what is it, are you trying to fix something, is it a new idea? It could be both. Speak with them, get their opinions, hear from them directly, and then get the opinions and ideas of other, city members and people of Boone, and just find out how would it serve everyone, because obviously it's something like that, it would be for the community as a whole. So you want to make sure that it benefits everyone and that it's practical, and then just, again, going, checking out firsthand what has been proposed. If it's a bridge or whatever, go to the area, see what it is. Is it possible? Is it something that's really feasible to do? And then if it's something I agree with and we agree with, run with it, do whatever we can to implement it and get it, make it a reality.
Typically, when we do infrastructure stuff like that, the DOT gets involved. When you're building roads and bridges and stuff like that, there is a lot that goes into it. There are studies that have to be made, traffic studies, usability studies, all kinds of things. And the overpass is a prime example of that. How long is that taking? It's all about the studies and how we approach and land acquisition, and there's a lot more to it than just saying we want to build a road here. That infrastructure, those infrastructure projects take time again. And I know everybody's anxious to get things done. I get it. But the fact of the matter is there are procedures to follow, and the DOT has a iron hand. The DNR gets involved with anytime you want to acquire land and build roads and build bridges as to what impact it has on the environment and on them. And the DNR wields a pretty big stick in this state. So that's building roads and bridges are a good thing. And if the citizens want it, then it's worth pursuing it. But it's a process.
I know, all I know is that infrastructure is very time-consuming and expensive. And other than that, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to this question.
Back to Terry to start with. City last year and a half ago, decided that they were going to take a little change on how they're redoing some of the streets. Typically, last 10, 12 years, it's been total tear out, rebuild, and do the whole works, underground, the whole works, water, sewer lines. Now we're going to look at trying to get more streets done, doing maybe overlay work, things like that, using that money and spreading it out and trying to get more streets done. Is this something that you support? Is this something you would like to see continued? And is that a good way to, because we've got a lot of miles of hard surfaced roads in town.
Yeah, and our infrastructure underground's old. I mean, it's been in there a long time. The new project on 11th Street from Division down to Story is a prime example of that. That's coming up pretty quick. They're going to grind and resurface, fix the curbs, fix the intakes, whatever it takes. They're going to scope everything to make sure that the storm and sewer and water lines are good, to make sure, so that we don't spend all this $1.1 million resurfacing and doing all that work and then have to tear it up later because the sewer fails. So yeah, I support that. Complete tear out and complete revitalization or underground and stuff is expensive. The sewer line, they line the sewers now, they line the storm sewers and they line the sanitary sewers without having to tear them up. But according to code, if those structures are in disrepair or collapsing, they can't do that. So they have to tear them up. So they're going to scope all that. They're going to run a machine down through there and make sure everything's structurally sound before they resurface it. I support that. It's a lot less expensive, and there's only so many dollars to go around. Like I said, that 11th Street project from Division to Story is not that long a stretch, but it's $1.1 million. So that's pretty expensive. If we paved it and redid all the sanitary sewer and stuff, it'd probably be 3 times that.
Pam, same for you. Do you like this idea of trying to get more streets resurfaced, spread it out as much as you can, or stretch the dollars you've got?
Yes, absolutely. Some of our streets are in bad disrepair. We got a lot of potholes. The Public Works, is doing a great job of filling them, but it seems like you fill them and then it's just continuous. So yeah, the streets do need repair, but I don't know if the budget allows for, if we have the money for that, or just do partial, do so much at a time. But they definitely, our sewers are old, some of them, in the older parts of Boone. So, but I do support that.
Personally, yeah, I definitely support it, and something that's over the last month talking with people, that is something that gets brought up a lot. So I definitely say there's obviously the public support there for it. Uh, it is, to kind of echo what was said, it's something that would take time. I think you said it was a year and a half ago, and that's a pretty small sample size or since that's been decided. So it is a process, and a lot of the things we've discussed about everything, that's something where, you know, takes time. There's no such thing as a magic wand that's going to just bring things overnight. It's a process that will take time and patience and, you know, understanding. And yeah, the roads have left a lot to be desired lately. We had a pretty harsh winter, of course, and all of those, but that's absolutely, yeah, worth something looking into. And you know, to me, that's kind of the point of city council, is hearing from, you know, the people of Boone, you know, giving them a direct voice into things that they want to see done and changed. And that would be a good example of one, yes.
Cool. So each of you guys kind of touched on your personal beliefs, and my last question is kind of zoning in on your unique perspective of Boone itself. So my question is, what one issue do you believe is the most under-addressed issue in town? And then once you tell me what it is, kind of how would you go about addressing it, fixing it? Pam.
I think it's getting people to come into Boone and to stay in Boone. I feel that we need to have something for every age group. We need to play, shop, eat, stay local. We need to find things that's going to bring people into our town and keep them here. And if that's redoing downtown, you know, get businesses in here so that we don't have to leave Boone to shop. You know, we used to have a great downtown. You didn't have to leave, but now, you know, with internet, online shopping, I can understand why little businesses don't make it because of that. But like Brett said, Jefferson has a wonderful downtown. Perry has a wonderful downtown. And we just need things to attract people here, to keep them here. And like I said, something for every age group. We need to, you know, do some activities that more than just the races, and, you know, we need to bring back the farmers market and just Pufferbilly. Let's make Pufferbilly big again like it used to be. You know, all the free concerts and talent shows. So
I would say the one specific one specific idea to me that we haven't had a chance to discuss is the library. I think that's something that's very underappreciated, might not be the best word for it, neglected. Our library is very important. The library serves everybody in our community, children, you know, adults, grandparents, doesn't matter. And our library isn't open enough for starters. It's 53 hours. Comparison, Carroll is about 63 hours. So, and Carroll's smaller than Boone. So to me, there's really no excuse why we wouldn't be investing more in our library. And again, it's a gorgeous, you know, library. We're very lucky to have it, and it's getting a little too close to having some serious funding issues. So fully funding the library, I think, would be just a great thing for us to focus on as an individual, something that's been kind of getting ignored, and that I think, again, with speaking with people, is a very important topic for, I think, a large part of the community, is having, you know, a library. That's where we're going to be voting next week. You know, it's very important. So that'd be my best example.
I think a lot of the issues that we think are under-addressed are actually being addressed. I'm not too. I think the way the council communicates to the public may be lacking a little bit. The council does a lot of stuff that the public isn't aware of. the downtown economic development, they are constantly pursuing and dumping money into that endeavor, constantly doing that. We talked, Pam talked a little bit about getting housing, getting people to move to Boone. You know, on average, we do 12 to 18 houses a year, new housing. This year, it's going to be north of 50. There's a lot going on with Alice's and some of the apartment complexes that we're having, and then the new housing addition over at the Little League Park, the new housing addition that's going to go in at Garfield, when that's demoed out of the thing. Boone has a lot to offer. There's just a lot going on here. Last year, we had $26 million in tourism. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of revenue for the city of Boone. So we have a lot to offer. Puffer Billy Days, I agree. It's kind of declined a little bit, but that's a chamber issue. They're the ones in charge of that. Council really doesn't have a whole lot to do with that. And as far as the library goes, libraries are important. I agree. But the library in Boone, Iowa is the third largest budget item that we have. We fund the library to the tune of $750,000. To say that the library is unfunded or not funded is not correct. It is not correct. We do that. That's a lot of money. That's the third line item. The parks, between the parks and the library and police and fire, they make up and they're in the top 5 of what Boone funds. I know they cut the budget a couple of years ago to add a police officer and a fireman. I understand that. That was a big issue. But this year, they're paying back $4,000 of that $10,000 that they cut. They added $70,000 in new technology this year. They did $20,000 of refurbishment of the furniture in there. They gave them everything they asked for 2020 in the budget. Everything. So I think the library is important. I do. But to say that they don't fund it is not true. There are limited funds in the general fund, and the library ranks in the top 3. So.
Okay. So, we can talk about economic development, we can talk about all these fun things. Bottom line is, what really gets emotional are, do you want open burning? Do you want chickens? What about sidewalks? Plow my street? Do my alley? That's where people get passionate. That's where a lot of the debate really heats up. So when you make a vote, you might be 1 vote out of 3 that vote for something, or 2, and the others vote the other way. Is that something you can accept and move on to the next thing, move on to the next topic, the next subject?
Yeah, I can definitely accept it. You're absolutely right. To put it, I would say it'd be nice if some people could be as passionate about some of those things as, like you were saying, economic development and some of the major things. But things like open burning and chickens, it affects people and it's important to them. So it's worth for sure listening to them and addressing it. And then, some of those issues are things that not necessarily need to be dwelled on. It is important to moving on to the next thing, and it's something I'm definitely open to and think is important for sure.
Terry, if you make a vote and you're on the winning side or losing side, do you move on to the next topic?
I really think that when you're voting at the city council, that there's 3 things to consider: the budget, how it affects the quality of life for the residents in Boone, and the future. I've been at the last half a dozen council meetings just to see how the city runs. I started coming before this even came up because I wanted to see how city council worked. I wanted to see how city government worked. And their job is people seem to think it's an easy job. It's not. They have to make hard decisions all the time. And those hard decisions have to be based on fact and studies and not emotion. And it's real easy to get wrapped up in emotional issues, and they're important to people. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean to demean that degree of passion that they have for those things. But my job would be to represent the Fourth Ward and everybody that lives there. If the majority of the people in the Fourth Ward came in and said to me they want chickens, okay, that's the way I vote. Because I represent them, not me, not my agenda, not my feelings. I represent them. So emotion shouldn't play a big part in that. I know it does, but I think I could vote and deal with the consequences based on what the Fourth Ward people want.
Your thoughts? I mean, there are a lot of you've heard them in the past. There's a lot of hot button issues that people really get emotionally charged about. You may or may not be on the winning side. If you're not on the winning side, okay, that was the vote. Now we go on to the next thing. Is that so?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Terry and Brett said, so. Exactly. I mean, you're going to have people that are passionate about stuff, and you have to listen. And then, it's what, 7 council members? So majority vote wins. I mean, I can say I was a chicken person, and I lost my chickens. I was sad, but I moved on. And that's, win or lose.
Cool. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the questions from the public segment. So if anybody has questions, feel free to walk up to either of the microphones and ask your question, and we'll kind of just follow the same routine as the questions that we were just asking the candidates. So whoever's interested, go ahead and walk up to the microphone.
I guess I don't really think I need to stand up because I'm so tall. I'm born and raised here in Boone, lived the past 17 years in Chicago, came back every year during the holidays and anything to see my grandparents, my parents, a lot of my family. And, my grandmother's going to be 90 this year. And in looking through all of her pictures of the way that Boone looked back in the day, the minute I open up the drawer, she just talks a mile a minute about so much here in Boone that was fun to do. And back in the day, they would drive up and have to park way far away just to walk on the strip because there was that many businesses. And it was kind of sad to look at those, wondering, all right, we are seeing a lot of businesses go south of town. What incentive are we offering them to stay in town? Many do visualize Boone to have tumbleweeds going down the roads. And as the way that we're going now, it looks like it's going that way. So whatever, I know that there's a lot of stumbling blocks and a lot of hoops, but you know what? It's worth jumping through those hoops to make a difference. And if we're not making incentives for people to stay here in the downtown, then Bacon's Jewelry, they just moved south of town. They've been in downtown Boone for how long? It's like you mentioned the free Wi-Fi. Well, is the rent that much less expensive south of town? So, I would advise to think about different incentives to keep small businesses. And it's really a question if you guys want to answer, what your ideas are in terms of that, or you can just leave it as is and move on.
I agree. To kind of go off of what you're saying, there's not enough incentives, if any. Just to circle it back again, a good starting block would be offering a free Wi-Fi. That I don't think I can state enough how much I think that would really help. And then just ultimately making downtown inviting as possible, welcoming for businesses. And you kind of mentioned pictures of older and how busy it was, and that's very true. I think what we kind of have to do is realize it's 2019. What are people looking for right now? It's true online, is obviously the most popular option. Brick and mortar is definitely going away. It's a challenge to support any brick and mortar, but it's possible. If we look at other communities, like we already have reached out to Iowa State and things, taking that feedback from them, applying it to Boone, how we can make it work, getting people together, committees, what people would like to see, and what would make it welcoming to them, in their opinion, to kind of just go off what you're saying.
There are funds available, BDIF funds and TIF funds. The problem with that, the TIF funds, if we're going to use TIF funds downtown, and that's fine, I'm all for that, there are certain parameters that everyone has to follow. First, you have to present a viable business plan. TIF funds are typically paid back through increased revenue and guarantees that they have to sign. So there's an outline, and I think that what would be beneficial to everybody is if the council would put together a cheat sheet, so to speak, of everything that's required to qualify for TIF funds or BDIF funds, so that people know what they have to do to qualify for those funds and make those available. As far as people moving out south, I agree with you. Bacon's kind of surprised me when they moved out, and so did Nearham's. But understand one thing, that's the changing of the guard there. Nate is taking over Nearham's. He's younger, newer, fresher. Same way with Bacon's. Eddie is taking over. And so I think they just wanted something new and fresh, and the south of town is the hopping place right now. I understand that, but when old businesses like that have been down there for 50 years or more start moving out, you have to ask yourself, why are they doing that? You know, what can we do to make them stay downtown? The fact of the matter is, right now, it is cheaper to build new out south of town than it is to renovate the old downtown. Sometimes when people present a business plan, it's based on economics. And that's the cold, hard facts. You're right, brick and mortar is out of business. If it wasn't for online sales, a lot of the businesses that exist in Boone right now wouldn't exist downtown. Haberdashery, for one. He does a lot of business online. So does Holly's. Holly does a lot of business from out of town people. So it's a tough sell. It doesn't mean we should give up on it. We should continue to work at it. But it's a hard sell, and from an economic standpoint, it's really tough.
So I guess, and then I hear what you're saying, it's a tough sell. Aren't there any measures that we put into place to fill downtown before we grow south? Because the minute we say, okay, it's cheaper to go south, downtown is going to get more and more emptier than it is right now. So that gets back to the incentives, keeping the prices down so we can bring the businesses in versus letting them continue to go that way, you know, all the way till Ames. And there won't be any, connection in between because it's so expensive down here. It's just food for thought.
I agree. I wish there was a magic pill we had that we could come up with. I think offering incentives and as much help as we can possibly muster to get businesses downtown would be great. Brian's considering one right now, an art studio downtown. It's a great idea. If he can find one that has the right rent and get all his ducks in a row, that will be a moneymaker, I think. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that we need to encourage, small business owners and stuff, and shop locally. I absolutely agree, but when the selection is so limited, it's hard to shop locally all the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Any other questions? Okay.
I have one, I guess, kind of to Terry. When you said that you was going to, the majority you would go with, do you think that's always the right thing to do if there's, for the whole community, just not just for the fourth ward on certain things? I mean, so are you saying majority is always right, and there's maybe some things that the majority doesn't know about, that it may not be the way to go? That's a valid point. What I was trying to say is that I represent the fourth ward. So if the fourth ward came to me and said, this is what we want, and the majority of people, you know, the people that I talked to, and it was a constant barrage of that, I would probably have to represent the fourth ward, unless the data and the facts prove differently. And a lot of times, you know, being on the city council requires you to make some hard choices. Sometimes they're not very popular choices, but you have to take into consideration the future, what happens in the future, how it affects the quality of life right now, and balance those two. It's a delicate balance, but you have to balance those two. And not always voting the majority is not very popular, but sometimes you're right, we have to do that.
My concern is for some public restrooms downtown. We have all these festivals going on, crazy days, car shows, and there's no public restrooms. A lot of people drive their cars in from Carroll all over the country. Where's the restroom at? Well, I say you can either walk to Casey's on Fall Street or go to Hy-Vee. Most businesses downtown put signs in the windows, public restrooms, only for customers. And we all ran into that. We all have to go to the bathroom. And you want us to come to Boone? $26 million worth of tourists, was it? $26 million worth of funding come from the tourists, and no restrooms. And I'm saying the restrooms here are closed, I do believe. The public restrooms right here are closed. Is that correct?
I just went to the restroom.
For public though, I mean, you come in off the streets, they used to be open, you could come in anytime. Go to the
I don't
restroom.
know. I try not to visit here too much.
But Boone is in need of some public restrooms now. We've got all these antique stores, people walk from store to store. Like I say, we all have to go to the restroom. We all don't live in Boone, so we'll have a lot of tourists.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Again, like, been a short time frame, so it's awesome to hear things like that. That's how we learn, and I agree. It'd be nice for Pufferbilly Days or the Boone River Valley Festival that's coming up pretty soon that we don't have to haul in 50 porta potties. That would be nice. I mean, realistically, yeah, we're gonna have to do something like that, but the option of just a busy Saturday downtown shopping, you know, ideally what we were talking about, a nice public restroom right off somewhere, that'd be a great incentive. It almost goes along the lines of an incentive to people of, you know, let's go downtown, Boone, shop, they got free Wi-Fi, there's public restrooms around, we don't have to use a porta potty. Absolutely, every little bit counts.
Being 65, I'd like to see restrooms downtown. Yeah. And I don't see that that's not a viable alternative. There's plenty of spaces down there that probably be acquired by the city reasonably cheap and developed and put in. Nice modern public restroom. Not that expensive. I'm a plumber, so I'll help. But yeah, I agree. It's something we could do.
I agree too, but there again, who's going to maintain these restrooms?
The city would have to, yeah.
Yeah, Public Works, so
Yeah.
that would, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Oh, right, sorry. I guess, has anyone had the opportunity to take a look at what we're doing now, what we've done in the past, to really revisit it? It's, you know, the saying goes, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. Sometimes that can be positive, sometimes that can be negative. But whatever we are doing now is not working, and we're losing more and more businesses. So I guess my question is, taking a look at it, and is one of you willing to completely revamp it, scratch it, and start all over to get this started back up, even though it'll take years, but at least we're heading in the right direction.
Core issue of mine that I've talked about is, not doing things that we've done in the past that clearly aren't working right now. Something that I was taught and has always really served me well is, the best indicator of future performance is past performance. So if we've voted things that way in the past, that's probably what people are going to vote for again. That's where I think me being on city council would be a good thing of bringing the new ideas, the willingness to actually listen to the ideas and then put them into action to I hope that answers your question somewhat.
There's got to be something good downtown. Belushi's, TikTok, the bakery, the theater has been there for years. Why aren't they moving out south? I mean, I don't want to see them move. There's got to be some reason that they're staying downtown.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've got to do something to bring those businesses in. And so.
Well, I have one I'll bring to you. Fourth Ward is going to be the area where they're going to start doing the inspections on sump pumps and the discharge. First of all, prohibiting sump pumps being discharged into the sanitary sewer, dealing with a lot of extra water that's been getting in there. It's been an issue that's showing up, especially on the west side and in the Fourth Ward. Are you positive? Are you supportive of this issue? Is this something that, eventually it's going to cover the whole city? That we're going to all have to get those sump pumps out of the sanitary sewer. The whole works.
Absolutely. Yeah, I support that as a plumber. Dumping stormwater into the sewer is just bad business. It overloads the sanitary sewer system. That water is all treated. So when it gets mixed in with the sanitary sewer, we have to treat more and more water. That's a bigger expense. It's hard on the plants. Having built 2 or 3 of those during my career, I know how much they cost and I know how easily they are overloaded. And cities all over the country are changing to that policy. I think that needs to be done. They're also looking at discharging into the street. They don't want that to happen either. So that is kind of a conundrum that we face. That means tearing up the street and tying it directly into the storm sewers. So that's a delicate balance they'll have to walk when they start doing that.
Okay, I understand the discharging into the sewer systems, overloads in the summer. The wintertime, we don't have that. If we have to run our sump pumps out into the street or our yards, the street, you're going to have ice in the streets. That's not smart. You run it into your yards, you're going to have ice in your yards. Are the lines going to freeze up? And then that's going to back up into your house, they're going to, breakage. And then you've got that expense. I don't know what we're going to do about the sump pumps. I have a sump pump. It runs continuously. I don't want that in my yard. I don't want that in the street. I don't feel that it needs to be changed in the wintertime. Summertime, yes. Wintertime, let it run down in the whatever that is in your basement. That doesn't hurt a thing. So that's a subject, it's going to cause a lot of grief.
The discharging of the city sewers is definitely something that it needed to be and it has been addressed and looked at. I know it has and it's going to cause some definite headaches for sure for people. Sump pump is kind of a cuss word to some people almost. They don't want to hear that. I'm lucky I don't have a sump pump in my house, so definitely something I would want to talk more and hear more and learn more about. At the moment, I can't really tell you what I would change or what's a better solution, but definitely something that is a concern that needs, paid attention to.
The problem is houses built before 1990 the tile around their house dumps into the sanitary sewer. We didn't run storm lines at that time. Storm lines were in the street, meant for rainwater, curb rainwater. That's what they were meant for. Now, in new housing developments, there's storm sewer runs into the, and everybody dumps their sumps into that. I can understand that that's a touchy subject. To grandfather everybody in kind of defeats the purpose of the whole situation.
I have a question on this subject a little bit further. Boone, Iowa is kind of in the lower corner of what is ecologically referred to as the prairie pothole region. It's a region of Iowa where we have a lot of wetlands. So I think that one of the problems that we experience in Boone is that naturally there are a lot of low areas throughout town that would collect water if we didn't build a city here. So my question is, would you on the council support looking into increased ecological awareness in terms of just shooting all of our stormwater right out into the river? Because we know that we have had catastrophic flooding in the watersheds that the Des Moines River drain into. We drain into the Des Moines River. We are within the Des Moines River watershed. So would you support allocating funds and time of city staff as a council member to looking into having a greater ecological responsibility in Boone, perhaps funding rain garden programs, things of that nature?
Yeah, I would support it for sure. The ecological side of it is very important, and as a whole, and looking into it more, getting a better idea, finding out what we can do would be very good and help, I think, with a lot of those problems, getting a better understanding. We can always learn more, I think, when it comes to that. So I would definitely be in favor.
Yeah, it's how do you fight preserving the environment? I would agree with that. Studies and helping people do that, absolutely. So what? I'm sorry. I absolutely agree with that. The new study is just out about the floodplain study is coming out. There's a meeting coming up here pretty quick on that. Huh? Oh, last night. Okay. Well, fortunately, I don't live in a floodplain, so I didn't have to go. I just posted about it so people that were aware. But yeah, I agree with that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
All right, cool. So it is 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. We would like to give a special thanks to KWBG for broadcasting the entire event, the Boone News-Republican for putting it on, and then we have Nathan Brown over here of Nathanial Brown Productions, who does a lot of photos, video, and audio work, as well as Brian Besler over here, who kind of manhandled the entire audio, allowing for Jim to have this thing put on online and broadcast and everything. So we will be here, the three candidates, and all of us will be here just for a little bit after packing up. So if anybody has any more questions or would like to talk to any of the candidates or us, feel free to come on up. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and conclude. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.